But 20 years in the Legion will make a boy man. 20 years in the Legion and they will give you land. 20 years in the Legion, you'll always have a home. 20 years in the legions of Rome.
Good evening, Meridies. Thanks for joining us tonight on How Shit Works, the show where we look behind the curtain of how things run in the Kingdom of Meridies. Kinda. This one's going to be a little different. We have the Ombudsman for Meridies on, so it's going to be how life works as the Ombudsman for Meridies. As always, I'm Ulrich. I'm one of your hosts. I'm a Night Pelican and a Royal Peer, and I have opinions. I'm joined tonight, as always, by the one, the only, the Knight of Kittens himself, the bringer of joy, Sir Erik Martell.
What's up, Meridies? Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sir Erik Martell. I'm a knight, a landed baron, and like Ulrich, I have opinions. And also like Ulrich, I'm not afraid to share them. Tonight, we have a very special guest. This is the second episode of our 6th series, and I can't believe we've had that many shows. And our special guest is the Honorable Lady Saruca bint Lazari, Board of Directors Vice Chairperson and Ombudsman for the Kingdom of Meridies. Saruca, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Saruca. I live in the East Kingdom. I'm all the way up in the great state of Maine, and I have been playing probably on and off since 2003, and I am on the board of directors, and I am the Meridies Ombudsman.
Great. Welcome to the show, Saruca. And that's so weird for me to call because I've only ever really called you Natalie. So I'm going to go ahead and let the people know that at some point I'm going to mess up tonight and call you Natalie or possibly Nat. And just bear with me. I'm horrible with names because Facebook has ruined me for it. All right. So thanks for joining us. For the audience, tonight's keywords are populist by Saruca, conflict by Erik because he's mean, and of course, anytime we announce that we are going off script here. That's when you drink if you want to. Remember, our drinking game is always opt-in. You don't have to participate if you don't want to, and if you want to participate but don't want to drink alcohol, that's perfectly fine with us. It's all about you having fun. We stole blatantly and outright, and then I got permission from between two peers. Their drinking game, and they allowed us to do that, and then we want to thank them as we do every show for allowing us to do that. Tonight, from my wonderful Kirsten Ceramica mug, I am drinking cider and Fireball. All right,
such an interesting combo ship. I don't know.
It's so good, so very good. So a quick note: we don't normally do this, but we're going to do this because you're here, and we did it for the Society Seneschal as well. We want to thank the populace for joining us as always.
That's a drink.
Absolutely. Please remember, if you have questions, put them in the comments. The lovely question goddess, Graf Katarina, will pick them up and put them in. We'll organize them, and we'll ask them at the end of the show. All right. Remember, that will be at the end of the show for the populist questions.
That said, this show is about the Ombudsman for Meridies, her position and how it works. We ask that you please keep your questions on those specific topics.
We know that folks have a lot of questions about reopening, peerage proposals, any of those things. And those are questions are absolutely valid in the world. And we suggest that you send those to the correct area, which would be you can find the correct officer or the comments link on the society page. But for this, keep your questions on topic. We will have a free-form section at the end where Saruca can go off and free-form to her heart's content about whatever she wants to talk about. But that will be her choice.
I was just going to do interpretive dance. Is that okay?
perfectly fine.
fine, as is freestyle rap.
Oh, epic rap battles of history. I feel like that could be a thing.
As long as I don't have to do poetry.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
We have determined that poetry is not in our wheelhouse.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
So it's rare we have a non-Meridian on the show. So some of our audience may not know you or your background. So we thought we'd like to take a few minutes at the beginning of the show to get to know you. How and when did you find the SCA?
So, like I said, 2003 is when I first started playing. And I met a boy and I fell in love with that boy. And that boy played in the SCA. And it turns out I married that boy and I'm still married to that boy. And we have a lovely 5-year-old. Unfortunately, over time, my husband has stopped playing in the SCA for various reasons, but I'm hoping that he will come back to the fold because Sophia is approaching the age when she can do youth combat, and he really would love to be a corner dad, I think. And Sophia is super into the idea of fighting because she sees me do it, and she wants to do what mom does. So that's when I got involved. Oh, actually, real quick, funny story. My first event, Bearblade Tavern. It was an all fencing event. I had gotten this outfit. He saw this outfit before we went to this event. I tell you, I was wearing an 18th century bonnet and he did not tell me. He did not tell me. Afterwards, I was like, why did you let me wear this to this event? And he's like, you just look so cute. I was like, thanks.
I'm sure it was fine. It's an attempt, right?
Oh yeah, totally. It was obviously fine. There was no like bad outcome or anything like that. Everyone was
awesome.
very gracious.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be correct.
Sure. I wasn't sure where we were going there for a second. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what the costume was we were wearing, but that was, your pretty floral bonnet's perfectly fine.
Oh.
All right. So what's your hook in the SCA? What keeps you in? What keeps you playing? What keeps you active outside of this job that you are dedicated to quite clearly?
Sure. Yeah. I am not like a one type of person, or I don't do one thing. I will say I am not an arts and science person. I wish I had that craft. I'm not crafty. I say that and then people tell me, well, you make chainmail. And to me, for people who don't know, I make chains for female knights in the SCA who want them. I started doing it last year at the beginning of COVID. It's been kind of slow, but I've been learning how to make them and sending them out to folks. It's been really fun. So that's my only crafty piece, but it's more, for me, it's more of a service to society than it is an art and science, just because I don't do like period chain research or anything like that. I fight. I'm a horrible fighter, but I love it. I marshal. Honestly, if I had to pick something, I would probably say marshaling is one of my favorite things, just because I get to be in the mix of everything. I love the actual fighting piece of things, but I get to be right in the thick of everything, and I really, really enjoy that. And then obviously service. I was my baronial seneschal for a bit. I've autocrated events and that sort of thing. I used to do a lot of retaining, and I worked on one of the reigns here in the East Kingdom. That's actually my only Penzic experience, is working on a reign. A very different Penzic experience than probably most people's first, but I would say a little bit of everything to keep me busy. I even occasionally fence. I've never authorized, but I'll go out and do pickups and that sort of thing. You think you'd be used to this by now?
How do you drink? All right, so this is the first we're going off topic. I'm announcing we're going off topic here. Tell us about Chains for Dames. Tell us what that's all about, because I completely bowled that until you started talking about I make chainmail. I was like, holy crap, I forgot. Nat totally does Chains for Dames.
So yeah, like I said, it's just the purpose of it was twofold. So originally I wanted a way to learn a whole bunch of different chainmail patterns without just kind of randomly making them. So I thought it would be a really cool idea and a way to promote exposure to women in fighting, especially those who have participated long and fervently to make that rank as being part of chivalry. So I reached out. I found out originally when I first reached out, there were only 52 female identifying women as part of chivalry in the entire society, and that just blew my mind. I wanted to make sure that people knew that and that they were aware that there were so few, because I really had no idea how many there actually were. I think there are more now, just in the past year, but not that many more. So always, find a way to like emphasize your passion and make it purposeful, while also just doing the thing that you like to do.
That is super motivated. Well done. I love that project.
So as someone who is also not crafty and a horrible fighter, you have found your people here. So now let's talk about your early SCA life. Who was your biggest influence in those first few years in the SCA?
So I had two very different SCA experiences. So my original SCA experience when I was in 2003, I didn't know anyone except for the guy I was dating, and his merry band of misfits. He had this great little group of friends who formed a little fencing militia, but they didn't believe in court. For the first 5 to 8 years, I didn't go to court at all. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know who the players were. I didn't know that there was this whole other game. I had no idea. And then we moved away from Maine, and then when we moved back, I wanted to get involved. Troy didn't really want to get involved again, but I did. I wanted the community. So I got back involved, and I actually ended up taking a protege belt from Sir Kippen Kirkcaldy. And I was his protege for, I think, 2 years. Eventually, he moved out of the state, and I wanted to stay connected, but unfortunately, because of distance and that sort of thing, it really didn't work out for me as part of what I wanted for my protege experience. So we ended that relationship. But I would tell anyone that I would not be half the Scadian I was today if it wasn't for him. And he taught me a lot about interkingdom anthropology and tradition, and just a lot of things that I really didn't understand about the SCA as far as the game and how it's played, but like in a great way, He also helped me with fighting. I'm still really bad, like no surprise there. But it was a really good relationship, and he really truly helped me kind of find my way and how to navigate within the SCA.
That's awesome.
That's really good to find that person, especially to find them fairly early and let them, help shape things. All right. So I know you from the board, obviously, and from the horrible black axe incident of 19. But what I don't know is what you're known for in your own kingdom. If I were to call someone from the East and say, so I met this lovely lady named Saruca, what can you tell me about her? What would they tell me?
I suppose it depends on who you talk to. I would say some people would say that I am a cheerleader, because, and I didn't even realize that I put this out there until past couple years. Oh, don't give me that eye, Ulrich. Don't give me that eye. I guess I am kind of a positive person, but in general, I just want to see people succeed. And so I think people see that as being a cheerleader. I just see it as like seeing people who want something and helping them get where they want to go. Whether that's like, hey, I just need to make it to the other end of the event site, or if it's, winning a tourney and I'm going to support them wildly, whether I think they're going to win or not. So I would say cheerleader for some, and then some people will probably say, have you seen her sippy cup? Because the last time we were hanging out and doing events, I very often would have a very special sippy cup that I would carry around. You can buy it for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and I can find them at any Dollar Tree. So I usually pick them up on the way to events and occasionally give them out to my friends.
I'm incredibly disappointed that I do not have a sippy cup at this point.
Well, we haven't really done an event together.
I know, right? Absolutely.
I'm going to bedazzle one now.
And Ulrich needs a Hound and Stag sippy cup, obviously.
Obviously.
So, do you have an SCA hero? And if so, who is it and why?
So I don't know. I feel like I don't want to call him my hero, but I will say Sir Cedric of Thanet is my Scadian dad. When my husband couldn't come to my second belting, I have a new pelican now. When my husband couldn't come to that, I asked him to come and put the belt on me, because he is just, to me, a Renaissance man within the SCA. He's a knight. He's a laurel. He just became a pelican. He is super passionate about the organization, the people in it, as well as, growth, but not for growth's sake. I would trust him with my life, and he brings joy to the game with the most simple things. He's not about the hustle and bustle. He's not about hustling anyone. And he never plays politics. He was in the East. He just recently moved to Atlantia. So if anyone's on from Atlantia, go find Sir Cedric. He is amazing.
That sounds like a pretty special person. You sound pretty lucky.
He's pretty great.
Okay, so now we're done with the easy question. I'm just kidding. So you're currently the only non-peer on the board that I know of. And I went through the little brain work there, and I didn't.
You are correct.
It's a little unusual. Were you surprised when you were chosen?
So, well, let me back up a little bit.
Sure.
I'm going to provide some more information there. At the time, there was one other person who was not a peer, and that was Dick Sherman. He was chair of the board at the time as well. So I guess because the chair of the board was not a peer, I didn't necessarily think it was that odd until I got on and kind of looked around the room and was like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit different. That's okay. Does that answer your question?
It's your answer.
I might have lost track of it. Sometimes I'm a little ADD.
Okay. It's just, were you surprised? That you kind of
No, I mean, I would say I was surprised just because anyone's surprised when they get a thing, but I wasn't surprised because I'm not a peer.
No, that's totally legit.
Yep, that's totally fair. So I think this next question is probably one of the more important questions that we'll ask. Why did you want to be on the BoD?
So, some people, when I talk to people about being on the board and not being a peer, people are really confused by that, and they don't necessarily understand or realize that you can do those things. And really, being a peer or not in game has nothing to do with how you can function as an administrative person outside the game. So outside the game being a seneschal role, a board role, a committee role. So looking at those things, I never, and no one ever told me this, but I've never let an award impede me from getting where I want to go. I think I bring a lot to the table, and I wanted to show that. The skills that I have outside the SCA don't necessarily reflect prowess within the SCA, so that's okay that I'm not a peer. So the reason why I wanted to do it, not everyone has a skill set to do this job. It is a hard job. It is crisis management. It is people management. It's understanding volunteers. It's being not being empathic, being, what's the word I'm looking for here, guys? Having empathy. That's what I'm looking for. You need to be able to have empathy and understand everyone, even people that you may not agree with or like. You need to be able to come to compromise. You need to be able to do a lot of things, and it's a specific skill set. And I thought I had that skill set, and I still think I have that skill set. So to me, I saw this as another service opportunity that no, not everyone can do this. And if I'm a person that can, and if I'm a person who would be good at it, then I should, because that's my duty as a volunteer within the group.
It's amazing sometimes the things that you can do in the SCA if you just think you can and are willing to put yourself out there and try.
Yep.
That people, I found that people sometimes think, well, I can't do that because I'm not a peer. I can't do that because I don't know the right people, or I can't do that because of whatever. I can't do that because will always stop you. I can't will always stop you. When the attitude of, I bring this to the table and I should try this, will get you a long freaking way in this organization.
Absolutely. I literally had a woman come up to me when we were chit-chatting about stuff, and she said, oh, I was thinking, once I became a peer, I might apply to be Kingdom Seneschal one day. And I looked at her and I was like, I'm on the board and I'm not a peer. And she literally, I could see her like sitting up taller and just feeling more confident in herself. And it makes me sad that people don't realize that they don't need an in-game award to do something on the business side of the house. I see it actually a lot in my board emails. So when I receive emails from people, they very much want to address me with my formal titles because that's what they're used to in game. And I completely understand that. I get that you are used to addressing people and you want to be respectful. I absolutely get that. But you don't need to, I would never expect anyone to call me Saruca in my board email or know what my title is. And honestly, the other piece of that, the flip side, is that people really like to put their SCA name and their titles. And while I appreciate that, I never want anyone to think that I'm going to pay attention to someone who's a peer or a multi-peer over someone who hasn't even gotten their AOA. All of those concerns are valid and all of them are getting read by us. So please never feel that you need to, quote unquote, be somebody on a scroll in order to engage with us, whether it's as a direct volunteer opportunity or you just have a concern.
Yeah, that's been one of the most eye-opening sides of things working for Liz, has been just seeing the sheer volume of emails that you guys get constantly, and then and then also seeing there's a reply. They're all read, they're all replied to. It doesn't matter if it's if it was the king that sent it in or the guy that hasn't even started playing in the SCA yet. I've seen those answers go out too. So it's good, really refreshing to see. All right, sorry, we got a little sidetrack there. I went off script. Sorry about that. Not sorry. So, what are the qualifications to apply? How does that work? How does one qualify for being a board member, considering you're the ombudsman for recruiting?
I am the ombudsman for recruiting. So basically, there are no hard and fast requirements other than the fact that you have to be a paid member. Okay. So you can nominate yourself or you can nominate other people. And please, please, please do it, because we want more candidates. We want candidates from all backgrounds, all areas of our kingdoms. All skill sets. We may be full up on lawyers at this point, not sure. But
wait, so there's a quota?
There's no official quota. We do have a lot of lawyers right now.
I'm teasing.
So what I would say is, if you think you can do all those things that I was just talking about and bring something to the table, especially if you can bring something unique, or someone who you think can bring something unique to the table, please nominate. There is a link on our website to nominate or self-nominate, and you'll be reached out to by Leslie Fulton, who is our executive secretary, and she will request your official resume. both business as well as Scadian. We like to see kind of what kind of activities you're involved in the SCA, but it's not like to check any qualifications. We just like to understand what your background is in the SCA.
So if I wanted to nominate, say, the Night of Kittens, all I have to do is send in an email saying, I think the Night of Kittens would be amazing. Here's his email. Here's his actual name. Here's how you get in touch with him.
Yep. That's all you got to do. But that person then has to confirm that they will accept that nomination. So there's no like, oh, that person automatically goes on the list. They actually have to accept it and submit their resume. You stay on that list for 2 years. And then at the end of your 2 years, you will be asked if you want to stay on the list. The other key piece to know about that is just it is a moving target because we are constantly bringing people onto the board and constantly moving them off. So every 6 months, someone steps up. Every 6 months, someone steps down. So we get 2 new board members a year separated by 6 months. And so we're constantly looking to fill a role. We're constantly interviewing, and we always have to make sure that we have the right balance. And if we're losing someone, say we lose someone on the board that's really good with finance and we don't have anyone else that's good with finance, we're really going to look for someone who has that finance background. So we like to plug in as much as possible into those needs so that we're not ever lacking.
That is solid information. That's good stuff. There's not any conflict in these conversations at all.
You're so mean.
I don't know what you mean.
So I'm going to go off script for a minute. Let's say that there's a widely popular movement out there to have the name of the fighting field changed from the Erik to the Ulrich. And we wanted to encourage this to be made part of corpora and made kingdom-wide because of the glory of this subject matter.
Kingdom-wide or society-wide?
Society-wide.
I was going to say.
Erik, you're a dick.
Yeah, I thought that was the only rule, Erik. What is this field that you're naming? I'm really confused.
Oh, so in many kingdoms, the fighting field has been traditionally known as the Erik. But there is a petition out there in the world to change the name of the fighting field from the Erik to the Ulrich. Is there not, Graf Ulrich? And is this petition not backed by many of the finest of our royal peers?
Wretched hive of scum and villainy back this.
I'm really confused by this entire conversation, but I learned a thing today that apparently fields are called Erik. I don't
know. So in the West Kingdom, one of the first fighting fields was surrounded. The first 2 fighting fields were surrounded by a yellow ribbon or yellow cord, and a red sort of like a bank, where you go through the line at the bank, and then it's like a velvet.
Yep.
Yep. So they became known as Erik the Yellow and Erik the Red. And then they were shortened to the Erik, and Western Rite kingdoms to this day still use that. And then a few of my friends have been having fun with that name, and just actually did create a petition that's got 20 names. It's nothing, but people like to harass me with it. I'm getting some comeuppance here for.
No. There are far more than 20 names on that, good sir. Far more.
So, Erik, to answer your question, you're more than welcome to email comments to the board. However, probably not going to get much traction there, bud. But you're welcome to, as a member of the populace.
All I need is a chance.
You are welcome to do that.
So let's talk about what happens between applying for your position and getting your position. What exactly is the process of getting that like, aside from being asked asinine questions by a internet host?
So that is a very interesting question. So like I said, you're on that list for about 2 years. Now you could get interviewed like that. maybe someone nominated you and we're like, oh, we need this person. You could get interviewed right off the bat and be good to go. Or like me, I was interviewed the month before I was supposed to get bumped off the list. So it could be right away. It could be never, because we don't have a need for what your specific area of influence might be. But during that time, you could get interviewed. And then afterwards, unfortunately, it is a little bit of a weird guessing game. We have to select folks to step up, but we usually don't want to say no to anyone because they may be good later. So we try to communicate as much as possible, but unfortunately, it's not always a super fast and neat process.
Okay. That's actually really good information to know, because I know a lot of people. I've talked to people before that were like, "Oh, I had I got on the list and I got a really quick interview and then crickets." And I'm like, could be any number of things. They only put someone on every 6 months.
Yeah. And we try to communicate that in our interviews that, you may hear from us right away. You may not hear from us at all. We may want to re-interview you a year down the line when we have different people on the board. So
Right.
we try to do pretty good about communicating, but it's something that I would like to work on in my new role as the ombudsman for recruitment, to find a way to be a little bit more solid in our response, but also able to keep people on that list that we want to keep for later. So it's definitely something on my radar.
So what happens once you're chosen? Do you just hop right in both feet? Or is there a training and transitioning period? How does that part work?
Yeah, so you get the call. I think I was actually asleep when Dick Sherman called me from California, because I go to bed very early. He was in the airport and he's like, "Hey, we want you to be on the board." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And then I remember I was in the dark in my bedroom and I hung up the phone and I rolled over and I called my pelican. I didn't even talk to my husband yet. I literally rolled over and called my pelican and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be on the board." And she's like, "Well, shit." Oh, I love my pelican. And then I went down and talked to my husband. But so we have a 6-month not probationary period, but a training period. So you get basically a manual that we've written on kind of how things function. It's called the new person guide, and it's you can use the, "Hey, I'm the new person," you can call an audible a little bit sometimes for a little while to ask questions and that sort of thing. But I got on the phone with Renee. She walked me through how to use SharePoint and how to access things in my email. I talked to the recruitment person at the time, who gave me a little bit more of a rundown. And then they invited me to my first meeting, which was in Caid in San Diego. A beautiful place. I'd never been there before. Got to meet some really cool Scadians who took us out in San Diego, and we got to do fun stuff after the meeting. So we have that 6-month period where basically, you're not an official board member, you're a board member elect, but you are allowed to express any and all your opinions. You just can't vote. So you just can't vote on anything, but we want to hear that person's thoughts on everything, because we want to make sure this is a decision that they're going to have to live with too, even though they aren't necessarily voting on it. When they do step up, it could be something that they will have to deal with the repercussions of. So we want to hear from them as well. Then you're on the board, so you step up, and then after 6 months of being on the board, being an official voting member, and I will kind of back up a little bit. In order to get voted onto the board, it has to be unanimous. There can be no disagreement among the board members on that particular person for the first vote and to get them on. Because we do not always agree, and because we're all different people, for the second vote, you don't need a unanimous vote. You only need 2/3. So after 6 months, you are confirmed as a board member, and then you're in forever. I'm sure there is a process for kicking board members out, but I don't know what it is, because knock on wood, I haven't had to deal with it.
Right, that's a good thing.
I don't foresee that happening either. The board is really great right now.
So out of curiosity, we all know unanimous means everyone's a yes, but does that mean also no abstentions?
No abstentions.
Okay.
And you can't say, "Oh, I know them, I'm not going to vote." Like, you have to vote. It's okay if you know them, but you have to vote.
Nope. That's cool. Just want to make sure we had that clear.
Yeah.
Right. That's actually very cool. I like the no abstentions. So, how long is your appointment on the BoD? And can it be extended or shortened? And also, can you serve multiple terms?
So a term is 3 years plus the 6-month period where you can't vote, typically. The standard is 3 years. It's the 6-month period before that can change depending on how long it takes us to decide on who the next board member is. You could potentially extend, but it would have to be in really extreme circumstances. Honestly, I'm not sure who would want to. I'm being completely honest. I love my job. I love this so much. But y'all are exhausting sometimes, and we need a break after 3 years. So, and sometimes they do end up shorter. So we're not supposed to enter Crown List, for instance. You can get approval from the board group to do so, but if you win Crown, the moment you win Crown, you are off the board. That has happened in recent history, I believe. But and things can be shortened for other reasons, medical emergencies, family stuff. It does happen, but it doesn't help happen very often. And I know we also have some board members who have stepped down, who have said, hey, in a pinch, if you need me for an emergency, like 6 months or whatever, they've volunteered to be that kind of emergency backup just in case, because it does take us a little while to get someone in place that's appropriate. So if we have someone kind of waiting in the wings that is a little bit up to speed, we could go there, but we would still have to vote them in. It would still have to be like a whole process. It wouldn't just be like a instantaneous thing.
That's well thought out. And the cough L9 thing, he's a dear friend of mine. I give him crap about crap like that all the time. So are there any duties that you take on right away, especially during that non-voting section? Is there, projects that you're looking at when you're in the not probationary, but the elect position or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really what you're interested in. I don't think that we would necessarily, want someone to sort of chair something, be the ultimate person responsible. But we absolutely encourage folks, if you're super interested in this committee work, go work with that committee. Or if you're really interested and you want to be on this phone call about this specific thing, you can do that. We, nothing is off limits as far as access. We probably just wouldn't give someone a main project right off the bat.
So what exactly are the responsibilities of a board member?
It's a loaded question, Erik. I don't know.
Sweet conflict.
So let me start listing. So main responsibilities. You need to be at all the board meetings. You need to be at all the other meetings that are just randomly pop up sometimes for emergency reasons. You need to, we all have a day of the week that we respond to emails that come in through the comments section. I'm not going to tell you which one's mine because I'm a little afraid you might target me in a good or bad way. I don't know. Let's see what else. So you have ombudsman responsibilities. Those are doled out, and I think we might have a question later about it, so I won't go too in depth on that. But you do have ombudsman responsibilities, and basically being an ambassador and steward of the SCA. Everything that entails. I kind of took it upon myself because I am a people person and not everyone on the board is a people person. So I travel for work. I have a really cool luxury that I get to travel a lot. So every time I travel for work, I try to hook up with the local group and see what they're doing, whether it's a fighter practice or a meeting or an ANS thing. I try my best to get to something or a dinner. I've been able to do it quite a bit, but because of COVID shut down, I haven't been able to do it much lately, but I'm really looking forward to doing that again. So you can have your own projects and stuff that you like to interject into your work on the board, but those are the main responsibilities, I would say.
So we won't ask you what day is your day to answer email, but if you want to send me a message later and tell me what Bart's is, I would really appreciate that.
Probably not. Bart's like my brother from another mother. I would not do that to him.
I don't know. You're nicer to your brothers than I was to mine, or mine was to me.
Right. I was about to say, because Bart's been like my little brother for well over a decade now, but I would totally do that.
I guess we just have a more loving relationship than you two.
It's that whole sister thing. Sisters
yeah,
are
that's
nicer
true.
for whatever reason.
Well, and really, it's just the fact that like he helps me and I help him. I'm not going to throw him under the bus with you, Erik. I see you.
All right, so it's the who watches the Watchmen question. So, who, if anyone, do you report to? Do you guys all watch each other? Are you answerable to anyone?
I mean, I would say I consider myself responsible to the populace. So if the populace is outraged at something, then I need to examine my choices and that sort of thing. I would say we also hold each other accountable any way we can. We are quite friendly, but we also have heated talks oftentimes. So sometimes we have to monitor that and pay attention to those relationships. And then I would say that LLF, Leslie, our executive secretary, I would, we don't answer to her, but she knows so much and has taught us so much that I would answer to her any day. And then ultimately, we also have John Fulton, who is our society president. And if he approached me with something that he was concerned about, I would absolutely take that into consideration and adjust accordingly. But I would say ultimately it's each other as board members and then the populace as a whole.
Perfect answer.
Yep, it makes sense. So this is a reminder to our audience, folks, make sure you have the live feed questions coming in, because this is going to be one of the rare opportunities that you're going to have to sort of speak through this medium with someone on the BoD. So if you really are interested in the job and how it works, do get those questions in. Now, our next question is going to be about the virtual SCA and how you sort of handled the switch to that, and has it resulted in an increased or a decreased workload? What exactly has changed?
So I will say I've had a really hard time, as I'm sure many people have, with the transition into a virtual SCA. I struggle with the online content in engaging with it. I've attended a couple East Kingdom courts and I still blubber like an idiot, but I'm just like all by myself, so it's not as fun. It's funny. I didn't think that, watching awards on a screen would still make me emotional, but it does. So I would say I have not engaged as much as I could have. However, most of it is probably because I've been so busy with SCA board stuff. It has absolutely been a crazy flurry of meetings the entire COVID. During the entire COVID stretch, I would probably, and I haven't counted it up, but I would probably say we have met more during COVID than any board member typically would an entire 3-year stint. It has been, it's been challenging and exhausting, but it's part of the job. Got to keep powering through. We try to build each other up and try to help with momentum sometimes, because as I'm sure y'all have run into stalls here and there with your own pursuits, it can get really exhausting, especially when you get very, very angry emails from people who don't quite understand what you're trying to do.
No, that's totally fair. All right, so we have a multi-part question, and I'm going to take the first portion. The first two are the not fun portions of the question. The second two are the really fun portions of the question. So start horrible and happy. All right. So what's the most difficult part of your job? What takes up the most of your energy?
I would say, I mean, in general, board meetings, like the planning session for our board meetings, which is like right now our public facing board meetings are on Sundays, and on Saturdays we have our planning meeting. And our planning meetings are usually between 9 and 10 hours long, during which we go through not only things we're working on as far as committees, like the peerage proposal stuff, the can't even think right now because the list is so long. We have so many projects going on. So we have a lot of updates there. We have officers that are working on things within their realm of focus and scope, and they're reporting on those things. And then we have all the sanction stuff, and we have to get through all that too. So it is, by the end, you are just so exhausted. From the high level of concentration and trying to work through any disagreements we might have between each other, and trying to get to the best possible solution for everything involved. So I'd say that's probably the most exhausting, and then just difficult in general. It is sometimes the responding to all the emails. That's probably one of the more time consuming things, just making sure that you're at least acknowledging. Sometimes it's a, hey, thank you for your response, we really appreciate your input here, we'll talk about this amongst the group. But sometimes things need a lot more follow-up or get directed to someone else. Oftentimes we get stuff directed towards us that are actually for other people, so we have to do that too.
So this is about here is where I normally have what we refer to as Erik's hot cakes.
Wait, did you say hot cakes?
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, this is America's ass.
Are we having pancakes? I like pancakes.
No. We're talking about the special kind of cake.
Are we?
I was. But I always know. So, but I don't really know much about what it takes to be a BoD member. And I'm one of those people, like, if you don't have a lot of experience with the thing, then you're operating from a position of ignorance. And as much as I can be a knucklehead, I try not to be an ignorant knucklehead. So I'm just going to say this. I'm really sorry that you guys had to deal with a bunch of damn jackasses this last year, particularly in the first part of the year. A lot of people acted like they lost their damn minds, and you guys had to put up with stuff. And I know that it was probably not the easiest thing in the world to deal with at the time, particularly with everything that was happening in the really real world. So just sorry about that. And hopefully these people learned a lesson since we've been shut down. Now, my question is, what was the most frustrating thing about your job?
I think probably just the mass confusion between what we do and what we actually do. A lot of people think that every little thing is something that comes directly from the board versus something that is like a day-to-day thing within the Society Seneschal's office, for instance. And it's not like, I mean, we're all on the same team. It's not like I want to throw someone else under the bus, not at all. But just understanding, what we do versus what they do. This is a day-to-day thing versus we haven't even talked about this yet. We can't even comment on it. So I think, yeah, I would say the most frustrating thing is just people just not understanding. And it's hard, we put all that information out there in a million different ways, and everyone says we're not being transparent, and we're trying as hard as we can and trying to provide as much collateral as possible, and people don't always want to go find it or actually get the real answer. It just makes it harder.
It's amazing how much information is out there if you'll just look instead of just expecting someone to tell you all of it.
Or seeing something on Facebook and thinking that it's true.
Right.
When it's not.
Right? Sometimes it's the world's worst game of telephone. So telephones other than these. There used to be a game for us older people. There was these things that you have on the walls, and you
Are you
pick them
explaining
up.
for my benefit? Are you? How old do you think I am? I'm not 12.
I don't know, like 23 or something. All right. So, what's the most fun portion of your job?
I've been playing the SCA for 23 or since 2003, and you think I'm how old? What? Anyway, what'd you ask?
You have not been playing for 23 years.
No. What's the question you asked?
What's the most fun part of your job?
Oh, the most fun part is just meeting people. I have been afforded some really cool experiences because of what I get to do. Y'all at the beginning of the program talked about the dark days of Black Axe, but honestly, I had a great time at Black Axe. Black Axe, I heard a kingdom talk, and it was really nice. It was really nice to hear people talk about what they wanted and have people listen. That was really great. I also got to meet some really cool people at Black Axe, and I got to see a beautiful site. And that's where I met Ulrich for the first time. Like I'm trying to think. I met Drogo there. I met a lot of different people there who I'm friends with and will continue to be friends with. So I would say that has been a really great luxury that I've been able to kind of, even when I travel, be like, hey, I'm coming. I know you don't know me, but I am on the board if you want to hang out and ask me questions. It is a nice luxury.
So you heard it here first, folks. Black Axe, great event. You should check out the
Black
next.
Axe is a great event.
Testify.
I was being silly, but still.
Well, yeah, that's what we do. I mean, it is why we're here.
Right.
So, what is the most rewarding part of your job, if it's not also the fun part?
I would say just seeing things that we've worked really hard on happen. I was on the board when they first created the DEI office. That was really cool. Whatever ends up happening with this peerage process, with our peerage committee, that's been a really interesting experience, and I've been really fortunate to be on this side of it to understand it on a deeper level, probably than most people can. Yeah, just being able to see all the hard work and the tears come to fruition.
Okay, that's a very good, rewarding thing. It's always good for accomplishments. So, if you have one piece of advice for someone considering applying to be a member of the board, what would it be, other than just volunteer?
I would say reach out to us and chat with us. It's never fun to interview for a job where you don't have any perspective. So if where I work right now, if I wanted to interview for a job internally, I would absolutely email the hiring manager and say, hey, I'd love to have just 15 minutes to just chat about the job, what you're looking for, what the process is. Do that. Reach out to us. I would be happy to chat with anyone about what that looks like. And I think it helps you get more comfortable with having those conversations. And an interview should be a conversation between two people to see if it's a good fit for both. I honestly, when I was interviewing for this and stuff, I was really thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to say yes if I get it or not. So it's important to do that, and it's also good just to make the connection. Doesn't hurt.
So can you give us a ballpark figure about how much time you spend each week working on BoD functions?
It really depends week to week. What were you going to say, Ulrich?
I love this question because people actually have no idea until they hear this.
I honestly don't know. I'm such a multitasker. I'm constantly I'll be in regular work and then I'll be in BoD work. It can range. Some weeks it could be an hour. Other weeks it could be 20 hours, depending on what's going on in the email comments chain. That's the piece that takes the most, unless it's a board meeting week. And then we have all the reading we have to do because we have to read every single officer's report, every single sanction file, which could be up to 100 pages long. every single piece of everything. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of writing. So yeah, I would say between 2 and 20.
That's a good bit.
It is.
That is. And I have a suspicion it leans heavier to the 20 than the 2. I mean,
you would be surprised. It really just depends on the week and what's going on. And also what ombudsmanships you have or what responsibilities you have,
Man, that is a perfect segue into my next question. So we've reached the end of our planned questions. But before these shows, I always reach out to members of the populace. We always reach out to members of the populace.
That's a drink.
And get it's 2 drinks. And gather questions, myths, misconceptions. So this is next section. This is where we'll cover a bunch of the questions that I managed to get from folks, or we managed to get from folks. And we're going to start out with, so we know that each board member has an array of ombudsman assignments covering all the SCA kingdoms, corporate domains. So how are ombudsman assignments set, and how did you end up with Meridies? I mean, I know the answer to this question, but
it's really a mud wrestling match. We just fight over it all.
That's not what I expected.
So they
no, I want the mud wrestling.
You want the mud wrestling? Okay. Well, I
want to see you and Bart going after it.
That would be bad. He would kick my butt so hard.
I don't think so. I think you can.
No,
take
he
him.
would. I have leverage, but like he's so much stronger and faster.
Right, but not in mud.
Next time in Alabama. Next time. So ombudsmanships are a thing that happens when one person steps down, another person steps up. It happens on the same meeting. And we literally sit there and we lay out all the ombudsman responsibilities and decide what to do. So sometimes the new person says, it's fine, I don't want to like rock the boat too much, so I'll just take everything that the other person has. Or the alternative is, do people want to switch? Do people have interest in other things? So when I first got on the board, the one thing I really, really wanted, and I got eventually, was the martial community. Super passionate about being a marshal in general, but also heavy fighting, and all of our communities under that umbrella. I love them. They are super cool. And so I stole them for Craig. When Craig stepped up as the chair of the board, I may or may not have demanded it, but I didn't have to fight too hard. I did decide to switch things up with my kingdoms. For a long time, we were grouping kingdom ombudsmanships by wars, which really didn't make sense because we don't typically send board members to big wars. So it would make sense if we said, okay, whoever's the ombudsman for the East Atlantia and Ethelmark, they always go to Pennsic. We don't do that because that's a big war and you should be going on your own and you should be enjoying your time there. So we were kind of working on splitting things up a little bit. And I think this is after Black Axe. Meridies had come up and I said, I want Meridies. And I took Meridies, Atlantia, and Midrealm. You cannot have the kingdom that you live in because they want you to still have a game and they want you to still play, which is really important. I'm pretty good, and most of my friends in the SCA and the East Kingdom are really good about separating that out. But when Meridies came up, I really wanted it because I saw that there was a need for someone who understood people and could communicate well. And I knew that that was a lift that I could do and that it might not be in everyone's wheelhouse to be able to do that. And so I took it. It's like, you cannot have it. It is mine.
So there was no mud wrestling for it?
There was no mud wrestling for Meridies.
Like, this is mine?
It was just the marshal ombudsman. Okay. That's the mud wrestling.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's legit. I mean, it feels proper that you should have to fight for that one. So
right.
So it feels like Ulrich is weirdly focused on mud wrestling right now. And I will not rest till I find out why, even though I will probably regret it. So
you will.
Anyway, Does the kingdom's ombudsman deal more frequently with the kingdom's crown or the seneschal?
It probably depends on the reign. Honestly, there have been reigns where I don't hear a peep, and there have been ones where I'm reached out to for counsel and stuff like that. It really is hit or miss. And it greatly depends on what's going on, if the crown has served before, and that can work both ways. You know, if they haven't served, they may really want to get some more input from their ombudsman, or maybe they've done it before and they know that they can reach out to their ombudsman for some feedback. The key is knowing that it's a resource is really important, and that we're here to help and not hinder.
That's cool. I mean, it just, it just works. So when is it appropriate? Wow. Hold on. Okay. When is it appropriate for a member of the populace to contact the kingdom's ombudsman?
So, I mean, I don't want to say there's never not a good time to contact us. Like, we want to be available. There are certain things that if you contact us, though, we're going to say, have you talked to your seneschal? Have you talked to your kingdom seneschal? You know, I would say if there's some compulsory reason why, or extenuating circumstance as to why you can't reach out to a structure within your own kingdom, for whatever reason, you could reach out to an ombudsman there, or maybe you talked with your kingdom seneschal about a conflict or issue and you don't feel like it's getting addressed. You might want to reach out to your ombudsman. Really, all of the conflict or sanction related things should really be going through the seneschalate. It should not be coming to the board directly, unless there is an extreme issue in that your kingdom seneschal or the overall seneschalate, you do not feel like you are getting an answer or an appropriate, an answer. Erik is muted.
Yes, he was. And he's a little slow, too.
It's okay, at least you're pretty.
Yeah, I am. At least I'm pretty. So what role does the BoD play in the day-to-day operations of the SCA? Because I know there's this theory, like, among certain members of the populace that the BoD runs the world, when we all know it's actually Jessica Sheffield.
So we can't. Here's the thing. This is a great indicator. The board, Erik's hotcakes. Yes, I love that keeps popping up. It makes me happy. We all need T-shirts now. So now I need you to repeat the question because my brain has gone off track. Oh, right, day-to-day operations. Got it.
You're thinking about Erik's hotcakes, aren't you?
Ulrich, you know me too well.
Thank you.
So the board. The board cannot vote via email. So we have to be like on a conference call, or we have to be like in person. So that should give you a really good idea of how many decisions we make on the fly. 0, because we can't vote on them through email. Most day-to-day things are going to come from your society, corporate officers, your kingdom officers, that sort of thing. Day-to-day stuff. We are more so we had just had a board meeting and now all this stuff is coming out. Those are the things that we do.
So I've often said that when people are, a lot of times when something happens and people want an instant response, they want an instant fix, and you have to explain to them that the SCA in general, though the board has moved super quick throughout the pandemic time, your turnaround on actions has been a lot faster than normal. But even so, any corporation of this size moves at the speed of bureaucracy. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, there are processes that have to go through for things to happen. And a lot of times people just don't understand that in the modern age of instant gratification, right? Everyone's like, hey, we're doing things. So speaking of that, what happens when there's a disagreement between the members of the BoD or between the members of the BoD and the society president? How do you guys all deal with that dynamic of contentious items where you're arguing with each other on things? I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way,
No,
but
no. No.
Dealing with that internal conflict.
So absolutely there's conflict. There's always going to be conflict, and there should be conflict. So you're welcome. We pick people to be on the board who are not like each other, because we want a well-rounded, diverse decision-making process. So we are not going to agree on everything. We have very passionate conversations, including with John, the society president, and officers and that sort of thing. We're probably toughest on each other, if I'm completely honest. We deal with it as professionals, and that's part of the sort of hiring process, right? Like, you need to be able to deal with conflict without getting a hothead. You need to be able to work through a conversation, because if you can't see the other person's point, and I'm not asking anyone to change their decision based on my opinion, but you need to be able to change it. If you are a person who just cannot ever change your mind because you're standing in your spot and you're not moving, it's not really going to work. I'm not saying you have to change your mind, but you need to be able to compromise sometimes. So usually we come to a compromise. Sometimes it just ends up not being a unanimous vote, and that's okay too. You can see all the votes in the minutes from the board, and you'll see sometimes it's unanimous and sometimes it's not. And we have different rules about things, regarding, this has to be a 2/3 vote and this has to be a majority vote, that sort of stuff.
And that's the one that gets me all the time is people are always like, well, the board's not transparent about things. I'm like, literally everything they vote on is published.
Yeah. Maybe we need to do like fireside chats where one of the board members just like reads the minutes verbatim, like quietly. Yeah, it would put everyone to sleep, right? So exciting. And on this day, we approved the stipend for this office.
I'm sorry.
So anyway,
to wake up, you need hotcakes. That's what you need.
I always have hotcakes. Anyway, so we know, or at least most of the populace knows, if they've been in the society for any length of time, that sometimes you guys deal with the less savory aspects of things that happen in the society. What's your role in the sanctions process?
So I'm part of the board in that process. We read through files and we discuss the case, and then we vote on it. Or we might see something and send it back to our seneschalate to do more work if we feel like we need more information and the file's not complete, perhaps. But generally speaking, just loosely, not to get into the nitty-gritty, it is really just read the file, understand what's going on, make sure you understand all the aspects that are involved, ask good questions of the investigator or the seneschal, and then you make a decision. But it's the same process or same conversations and difficult conversations all the time, and sometimes we don't agree.
All right. No, that's I can't imagine everyone getting along all the time. Even when you are of a mostly like mind, it'll get kind of boring and sad. All right, so I have a bit of a two-part question. It's gonna be the last question we do in the myths and misconceptions, but I think it's an important one to cover. Are there specific issues that should automatically go to the ombudsman? And is there an officer or officers that should normally be contacted first for most issues? And you kind of covered that, but it's the second part of the question that I really want to get to once you answer that part.
So yeah, like I said before, most conflict concerns should be going towards your seneschalate. So your local seneschal, your kingdom seneschal, that sort of thing. I would say if there was one specific issue, if you went to your kingdom seneschal, you feel like you're not being heard, or you need an advocate to really hear your side where you don't feel like the other person is hearing you. It's kind of hard and muddy. There's no right or wrong way. I would rather hear from someone as part of the populace with a concern regardless, or not regardless, but if there was ever a question as to whether or not you should reach out to us, I would always rather you reach out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And no, that's spot perfect. But here's the part that I want everyone to hear the answer to. How does that answer change if the issue/question is the crown?
So are there specific issues if they were crown? So I would say if someone is a current crown and I'm their ombudsman, I would want them to reach out for counsel if they were concerned about making a decision, especially like if they were going to do something big or make a big move and they were a little nervous about it or worried about, what might happen, or they want to know how it might fit into Corpora, or how Corpora might be like butting up against it. I would always encourage that, and that would be a great use of me and my skills and the resources that I have access to. Really, any concern from a crown can come to me, but typically it's those Corpora specific that maybe go above what their kingdom seneschal has for understanding. And typically when I get those questions, it's usually in tandem. Like it's usually the crown contacts me with the kingdom seneschal, and we all get on a call together and we have that conversation. So yeah, does that make sense?
It does. All right, so now we're going to go into the live feed questions.
You mean John Fulton's question?
Yes, John Fulton's question. Erik?
Yes. From our beloved John Fulton, who some of you might have heard of. If you could choose one event to attend out of all the events, what would you go to that's not Black Axe?
I guess I have to assume that this is an event that I haven't been to yet, because my all-time favorite is Great Northeastern War, which is in the East Kingdom and it's in Maine. But I pretty much go to that every year. It's my all-time favorite event. If I could just randomly choose one to just show up one day and be like, hey, I'm here, I've never been here before, it would probably be Gulf Wars, and I was supposed to go last year before it got shut down. Sad day. I even had a gold and blue tiger tracksuit to wear when Ulrich was going to pick me up from the plane. We were going to stop for slushies on the way because I've never been to a drive-through slushie place. We were going to get like the big gallon jug of slushies to bring to camp. I was super excited. Did not happen.
Will happen in the future. Can confirm.
Hopefully. I got to make it down there though. That's the hard part.
I have to get you down here for Meridian Grand Tournament. You'll love it.
Oh, yes, that is true. I do really want to come down for Grand Tournament. That sounds really fun.
All right. So this question is from Sir Connell McDale, a wise and influential knight.
Oh, Connell.
Are most BoD members introverts or extroverts? Because you're throwing the extrovert vibe really hard.
Yes, and you all know Bart, so he's very extroverted as well. We definitely have some introverts on the board. They might actually outweigh the extroverts, if I'm completely honest, but I haven't asked anyone to self-identify, so I could be mislabeling. I don't want to. I get the introvert vibes from certain folks. We have a good mix.
Some of us are extroverted introverts.
Ooh, yeah. No, I used to be one of those. And then right before COVID hit, I became an extrovert. Horrible timing. Horrible.
Some of us are extroverts.
What's that?
You're just extra, Erik.
Right, extra. We are extra.
I see.
So we have one more question, and it's, if you could be an SCA superhero, what power would you want? Flying, telepathy, laser eyes? Inquiring minds want to know. And this is from Bergen Costello.
Oh, that's really hard because I feel like whatever I choose would be about a Scadian thing. And then I feel like it would be cheating. And then I would have a really hard time using my power because I feel like it would be cheating and unfair to other people. So in general, if I was just a superhero, I would absolutely choose flying because I love to fly. I love to travel in general. And then I could go visit all the places and there would be no problem to come down to Gulf Wars. And I could go to all the events.
All right, I'm going to spread that one around. Eric, you got to choose.
I had to choose a power.
Yeah.
Yep. One power.
Is it one power that I don't already have?
Oh, do you already have a
Yes,
superpower?
being extra is not a power. It's a feature.
Contraire.
Mon frere.
It would obviously be super strength. I mean, you know me.
But hey,
true.
follow-up question. Could you resist not using it in fighting?
I could because I'm already Captain America.
Obviously.
I'm going with teleportation, and I will absolutely not stop using it. I will teleport around and knock the shit out of myself.
Are you not concerned about the fact that every time you teleport you die? That's why I chose flying and not teleportation.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about transporters. No one's ripping my bits apart and putting them back together. That I'll just take the shuttle down for that. I'm talking about actual teleportation, where I bamp from one spot to another spot. I just don't want to be blue.
Then I'm changing my response. If I'm not going to die every time, I will also choose teleportation because really, I just want to get places faster.
Right?
In fairness, couldn't you then just take super speed and you'd be fast enough to do that?
Actually will make you
I would have amazing legs too if that was the case.
Right.
And I'm 6'3", so the more amazing legs I can get, the better.
I'm just saying, like, if you're fast, you can do anything you can do with teleportation, but a whole lot more.
I can do anything you can do better.
Anything you can do, I can do too.
No, you can't.
Anything.
Oh my gosh, did this just turn into Annie Oakley?
Look, so you guys can't see it out there in Showland, but Jessica Vosper just put into our chat, this shit just got real nerdy real quick. I'm like, really? Now it gets nerdy? I'm wearing a 12th century garb. Now it's nerdy?
It got mundane nerdy.
Sure. No, this was SCA nerdy. It's fine.
It's SCA adjacent.
SCA adjacent. There you go. All right. So our actual last there's nerdy in there. Okay. There's our actual last live feed question comes from Mistress Adriana, who would like to know, what is your favorite Sonic drink and why?
I'm gonna disappoint you. I'm gonna drastically disappoint you. So I'm gonna say tater tots as my answer, and it's because I really want to drink the slushies, but they're all made with sugar, and I can't do that because I had a gastric bypass.
I just want to know how you're drinking tater tots.
I mean, obviously you're not doing it right. You just like unhinge your jaw and just like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I understand. I understand jaw unhinging. That I get.
Okay. And now we all just giggle. Oh God, I'm getting a cramp in my side.
That's awesome. We broke the Natalie.
We broke the Natalie.
Oh, damn it.
I'm the air. I'm victorious.
I really hope that the society president is still on right now.
Oh, he is.
Ow.
I can almost guarantee it.
Excellent.
Ow.
All right. So
You just got
we're through the live feed questions. We're through we still actually have a whole bunch of myths and misconceptions that we can go through, but we're getting close out of time, so we're going to wrap this puppy up. So this is the last chance. Anything that you want to cover before we go? This is your free form section where we're just going to pull the Natalie pin and let her go.
Well, what you missed was me trying to open up this hard cider and it like exploding all over me.
I totally saw part of that.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. Oh, I don't know. So I feel like you've really hit on a lot of the things that I love as well as that irritate me as part of my job. So actually, I'm gonna completely flip the script and do something completely off book, which y'all love. And I'm actually gonna talk about fighting for a second.
She's going to go off script.
I'm talking about fighting for a second. So one of the, I see a lot of the topics going around about women fighters and wanting to get more women into fighting and that sort of thing. And I'm a person who loves fighting, is really bad at it, and has absolutely like no time in my life, whether it's like my Scadian life or my mundane life, because I work a crazy job. I just don't have the time to dedicate to it. I know that I am never going to be a knight. I don't have the time. I don't have this. Well, I can't say I don't have the skill because I've never honestly tried. But one of the things that I wish someone would have talked to me about when I first started fighting. So I've had two fighting phases. I had the first time when I tried it, and I was much larger. I was probably about 370 pounds. And I had armor that didn't fit me. I had very generous people who were very willing to help me out and get me armored up, and that was amazing. But I think the one thing that I didn't realize until I started fighting again at a much lighter weight is that no one told me that armor should fit right. No one told me that it should be comfortable or what I could expect from it, and I really wish they had, because even at a heavier weight, I could have found armor that fit me more appropriately. But instead, I thought it was my fault, and I thought that I was just never going to be comfortable in armor because of my size. And I think it's something that it may be a size thing, it may be a gender thing, it may just be my personal individual experience. Absolutely, I'm not attributing this to any of those one factors, but I would say if there's anyone out there who's had a fighting experience like me, where you are spending more time fighting against your armor than enjoying the sport, then you should find someone to help you find or make armor that works, that fits you. That I literally felt like I was Forrest Gump, and I had legs on that were going to burst off at any moment because they didn't fit right. I would take a leg shot as a kill, because if I knelt, the buckles would pop off the back of my thighs, and like I wouldn't have leg armor anymore. But no one told me that wasn't supposed to be a thing. No one told me that I should feel comfortable kneeling in my armor. When I got the kit that I currently have right now, and I knelt in my greaves, I like shed a tear. I was like, I could stay here all day. It's the little things. But like, if you're a person who's in the fighter community all the time, it's not something that you necessarily think of because you're used to your kit and how it feels. And I think that sometimes people don't realize that area that they might be missing. And that was the thing for me. So once I found a kit that fit for me and that worked for me, and I did a lot of research and how I wanted to equip myself, and I do use some sports equipment to be lighter, and I use some sports equipment just because I feel like I'm being a little bit smarter. And then I use, regular steel for other things. So my plug in the SCA for today is, if something's not working for you, ask other people, whether it's fighting, fencing, archery, arts and sciences. Maybe you're just not getting something, or it's not feeling quite right. Maybe you want to be an autocrat and maybe your first event flopped. Go seek out someone who can help you. And if you're not getting the help, try a different group. Not saying like go to a different barony, although you could. I just mean like find someone else to talk to about it, because there probably is another way that will work for you.
No, that's solid advice.
Right.
We always tell the joke that, if you're comfortable in your armor, you probably forgot your gorget. But yeah, absolutely. I've been on a never-ending quest for body armor and leg armor that fit and is comfortable. And greaves with attached knees was the world changer for me. So I absolutely completely understand what you're talking about. But I'm also lucky that we live in a kingdom where everyone is almost too willing to help. You're like, hey, calm down, back off just a little bit, let me breathe for a second. But you're right. You have to be willing to ask sometimes, and that's a super hot take. I like that.
So now we're at the shout out portion of our show where we give credit to people who are doing good work, either through virtual SCA shows or as offices or just doing work in general. And tonight, my shout out is for those fine gentles who started the petition to change the fighting field to the Ulrich instead of the antiquated Erik. And I say this as a card-carrying member of the Erik Society. I support this message, and I encourage all of you to find this petition and vote as many times as you possibly can.
No.
Who would you like to give your shout out?
Oh, honestly, I would just like to, I hate even saying shout out. It feels very 1990s, but I'd like to give a shout out on TRL for really to all the crowns that have reigned during COVID. It has been an absolute trudge for all of us. The crowns, as well as our Kingdom Seneschals, it's just been amazing the work that everybody has been doing. But some of the crowns have really been able to bring the game virtual, and it's been really impressive, and it's a lot of work for them. It's a lot of work for their staffs. I mean, I just look at the crew that's setting up this show, and I know that folks who are doing those Kingdom broadcasts are doing a ton of work. So all of those people involved in just keeping our game going at the virtual level while we've been patiently waiting for the reopening of the organization.
That was really close. I thought for a second there you were about to steal my shout out. But you saved me there at the end and focused on the folks doing the virtual courts and hosting those and that side of the tech group, because my shout out is going to go to the Kingdom web ministers, the Society web ministers, the Kingdom and Society social media officers and their crews that are just killing it and are way overworked, especially during this pandemic. And it's great to see us coming out of it a little bit, and hopefully that'll lighten their lives up a little bit. But those guys are really doing, they're really doing the soldier ants work. And Erik, nobody likes you.
Everyone loves me.
That's so mean. Don't be mean.
It's not bullying if it's true. And I say that with all the love in the world, Erik. You know that.
President at SCA.org.
Right. All right. So we're to the thank you portions of our show. And I've had a lot to drink. There was a lot of Fireball in this. So I'm just going to say thanks for being here, Nat. You were amazing, and you were a super fantastic guest and really, brought the extra, and thank you for that. Of course, we want to thank our support crew, Jessica, Adriana, Katerina, Kikuchi, Margaret, and most importantly, you, our audience who tune in weekly to listen to us, to listen to Erik and I talk to wonderful people, because it has to be the wonderful people that are our guests that you're here to watch, because it can't be Erik and I.
For real. So next episode, we're taking a break. We're taking Memorial Day off to spend with our family and maybe friends and possibly rebuilding the 1940s. But we're going to be back June 7th, where hopefully I might have an Erik's Hotcakes t-shirt if I feel motivated.
I want one too.
So I would say that all shows are 6 p.m., but there's no show next week, so we're not even going to do that part. But if you're watching on YouTube or then you need to like and subscribe and smack that bell for notifications down here in the corner. Just smack it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the like and follow up here. Analytics are a thing. It gets us more people to watch. I don't know. Do what you want to do.
Now that Ulrich has instructed you to slap it, flip it, and rub it up, We'd like you, if you're watching live feed, to give us about 5 minutes for a break, and then feel free to join us on Zoom for the after show, where God knows what could happen. Watch the live feed comments on Facebook for the link. We'll hang out and chat for about a half hour or so, and Draft and Katarina is going to post that link now.
All right, quick before we go, we have merch. We don't have an Erik's Hotcakes yet, but we will have an Erik's Hotcakes soon. Apparently now it's going to have to be a thing. I don't understand how this timeline works anymore. People buy our stuff, and that stuff goes to pay for things like the StreamYard service that we use, the mics that Erik and I have. But go to hound-and-stag.com and buy our merch if you want to support us, or don't. You're responsible, or mostly responsible adults.
Somewhat responsible.
Thanks, Nat. Really loved having you here. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Good night,
me.
everybody.
Good night.
And if I die in battle, tomorrow I'll be home, though it's 70 days march to there from Rome. But a soul travels swiftly on the night wind, and if I die in battle, I'll be home again.